might have seen, by the way, this is going to be a fun little time together. We're going to just share some big announcement. You might have seen a video yesterday of this guy here, Tyler, flying around, and his video editor did it. But anyway, announced is the number one solo agent in the at KW in the Carolina region. And tell me if I'm misstating that somehow, but in the Carolina region, part of high level mastermind in that environment, all the and just a great producer, okay, a real estate agent who is productive, very very productive. And we have a lot of the same roots, and we have a lot of the same gratitude to them. I mean, just like coming from just a place of like, wow, really good stuff. And so this conversation, and I couldn't be happier to do it alongside Clarissa Marshall, who very similarly, I met her, by the way, she was doing about 30 deals.
Yep.
Following year that we met, like I'm giving myself that she joined our environment, the fast forward movement at eXp. Went to 60 deals. This past year did 120 something,
114.
114 deals. I love that. She's not taking any credit. Not 120, 114. With a team she's building now. She was a solo agent back then. And so anyway, I couldn't be more excited about the conversation because I think right now is a real big time of change for a lot of people. We're at the end of the year, which is a real big time of change as any year. But then this year in particular with the market conditions and so on. And the number one thing, Tyler, that stands out for me is a guy like you in an environment like this right now with a very successful business and in a good environment. It's not like you're coming from a place that wasn't a good environment. Still decides to go through change, which, so like, I'm curious why here versus you could have gone other places, but why anywhere? Because you could have also stayed put. And I think a lot of people are going through this. And besides from that, let me just say this. If you're looking for a just short-term rental like monster, who's one of the best short-term rental experts in the country, it's Tyler Coon and his team. And he can, he and I now and his team members, we're working on another purchase of my own, but that's like, by the way, regardless of where in the country, because they have access to a lot. So aside from setting that up, Tyler, we'll go there, but also I think you have a lot to give. And that's why I'm excited to do this announcement, because our group's about helping agents just sell more homes and advance their business. Anyway, dude, I'll back out of here. I hear from you.
Yeah, man. I think for me, what was really interesting about the eXp model for us specifically, is just this cloud brokerage idea. And the first time I spoke to you when we started talking about what is the fast forward movement, when you haven't looked at joining eXp before and you start going down that path, you start getting phone calls from everyone, right? All sorts of recruiters and all sorts of people that want you in their group. And so you actually have a different sort of decision to make when you join eXp, which is who is going to be my sponsor. And I think a lot of people just take that for granted and they're like, whoever's my best friend. And I think that there's a big opportunity there to make sure that you're partnered with the right people that some folks may not know about. So there's a big decision there. It does make it sometimes a little bit more confusing. And that's why it's great to have mentors to kind of give a call, check in with people. I checked in with other folks about who Dan is and what sort of person he is. To give you an idea, there's 9,000, almost 10,000 people in the fast forward movement. Is that right?
I'm going to be just like Clarissa when I said that she had 120 sales last year. So there's actually, you're right on. You're right on. Because it's inclusive of, it's the lower number, right about 9,000. I don't have the exact number for you, but right about 9,000.
Well, and so this is the, multiple times now we've been on video together and I'm looking at like, if I had 9,000 people in this like rev share program, for sure, you're not catching me in an office helping people out. I'm going to be on the beach. You're never going to be able to get a hold of me. Like, that's who I'm going to be. I'm sorry, and you're like, every time I talk to you, you're sitting in an office and we're on the fast forward movement Zooms and you're in there sitting in an office. So, I mean, it's clear that you could take off and you would be a very wealthy person and that would continue on. You don't have to continue selling real estate to do that. And that's what came across to me as really, really interesting. There were other people that said, you'll quit your real estate business. You'll go to just recruiting, that had smaller movements than you've got. And really what you focused on with me was you still going to focus on production. You're still going to continue to grow this baby that you've built so far. And that moved me a lot, because it showed me that you were coming from a place of contribution and value, and not just you want another big producer in your downline. So that was kind of cool. And that's why I chose the fast forward movement after speaking with a lot of different sponsors. So I think that's a big question for a lot of people out there. Clarissa, what do you think? I mean, it's
I'm
hard.
loving hearing this because you are a big guy. So you're like, okay, yeah, well, he's talking to me. But Dan, I'd never even met him. My sponsor had left eXp, and talked to him on the phone. Here I am from North Carolina. He doesn't know who I am. I'm a brand new agent. I don't even licensed for about 7 months. And he's like, I'll help you. If you do these things and go to these classes and join and actually do the work, this will make you successful. So all I did was listen to him, but he cared about me like a nobody, when I was selling, just under 30 houses, and really he's a genuine person. And I really appreciate you, Dan, and I really appreciate being a part of this group. It's just wonderful.
Love that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I have to say real quick is like a very joyous moment was, look, we bring in like a Tyler, big producer already. So we'll see him in the stuff we're doing. But when I saw you in particular at our Generals Mastermind, 50 million and up producers in Montana, in Whitefish, in this like idyllic setting, and I knew where you came from, like that was cool. That was cool. But what the group's about, dude, Tyler, you'll hear coaches like John Cheplack as an example. You'll hear him a lot, like committed to the process, not the outcome. You'll hear people, you'll see that theme in the book. Well, what does it actually look like? Our group, this Fast Forward Movement group, is committed to this crazy idea that we just help one another. We stay committed to the process of selling houses. And then like everything else will come from that. And right now, I think there's a huge mistake being made everywhere where people are trying to talk to agents about, what their life looks like in 20 years and in 10 years and 30 years. I kind of equate it to a doctor. Like you show up with knee pain, your knee hurts. You need to fix the knee pain. And the doctor wants to talk to you about like holding off early onset dementia, like in your old age. Like that's great. But like, can you help me with my knee pain? And the knee pain for agents right now and yesterday and tomorrow and 10 years ago and 10 years from now is, how do I sell another house? Or how do I sell 10 more homes? Or how do I sell another 100? Or whatever. Everyone's at different levels of what they want to move toward. But we're just building a mastermind environment that nurtures our need to grow our real estate business with this idea that if other like-minded people want to peek in on it, if it's good for us, it might be good for them too. Someone like you shows up, all of a sudden there's like this short-term rental king expert that's part of the group. You're going to teach in the group. You're going to share. They're going to grow. And that's that cycle that we've created that's just feeds itself. And it's a lot of fun, but it cannot happen without contributors like yourself. So we're just happy to have you.
Yeah, it's super cool. When I was on that General's call last week, and so for anybody that doesn't know what that means, every week the Fast Forward Movement does a Zoom call with 50 million and up producers. And when I was in that Zoom call, it felt really reminiscent to me of real estate conferences that I'd been to that only happen once or twice a year. The things that in those conferences are great, and I had a lot of fun at those conferences. I mean, so much fun, and met so many cool people, had a great time. But what really blew my mind after coming in was like, oh my God, this happens every week. And the market is changing right now faster than every 6 months or every year or every 2 years you can make it to a conference. And so having people that are coming in there and going, this is what's working for me this very week. This is this thing we've discovered. This is this new thing we're working on. And then hearing that feedback in real time, it's really cool. I think it's really, really cool. And it is, unlike this 3 or 4 or 5 day conference you go to, this like mega rally or whatever, and you take away like one thing from it because you were distracted meeting people. Like, this is intensive. This is real. You're sitting in your own office on Zoom, listening to $50 million producers actually tell you how are they doing that. And that was really cool. I mean, that was like, this is so awesome. Like, why don't we just have the Zoom running 24/7, you know?
What's neat too is like the paths. Because if you're listening to this and you're like, well, I'm not doing 50 million up. How am I going to interact? Check this out. There's paths literally for everybody. So what we've built is, and a lot of people that know this about the fast forward movement, is you're brand new to the business. We have an entire launch program to get you in and productive. You're starting to gain traction, kind of like where Clarissa was some years ago. We have a special mastermind group for you where you go from being a $15 million producer, right? So that first thing's like, let's get you to 15 million. Then there's a special group that meets every week, move you from 15 million to 50 million. When you hit 50 million, well, there's different needs. So then that group gets together routinely, and right, just like we said, not one set of like routinely. And we help ourselves then grow from 50 million on up. And we have $600 million teams, $700 million teams. We've got right now, I mean, if you actually look at like the top 50 across the brokerage, about half of them in the group. I mean, it's like, this is what the group's about. And so, but Mondays is my favorite, because Mondays, all of us with the brand new agents, with the experienced agents, with the mid, with the up and comers, are all in a mastermind every single Monday. And what I love about it is you would think actually that I'm getting the most actionable nuggets out of like maybe my, that higher end one. And so I'll go there for therapy to like get some like a very specific problem solved and to contribute. But what I find just the most fascinating thing is that without fail on a weekly basis, every single Monday, I find things that improve processes in my business, because what happens is you end up growing, and then we're all guilty of leaving behind some of the fundamentals, leaving behind some of the things that, wait, like we used to do that in every open house. It used to work. Why on earth did I stop doing it? And so it's just really good to have that. And then when a brand new agent's asking a question and they're getting coaching from 50 and 100 and 200 million dollar producers, plus someone that's a 10 million that just came out of what they're going through, now they have perspective. And I don't know how to travel through any, obstacle ridden course like real estate and like business without perspective and view. It just gives you a huge advantage.
Yeah, it's really cool. So I know one big thing that I wondered coming in, and I'm in a unique position right now, and that's why I wanted to do these live videos. And Kyle Whistle actually gave us a really good idea. He said, do a live video a week in, a month in, 2 months in, 6 months in, do it a year after you join, and document your travel from one brokerage to another. So I'm really excited to do that. So if you guys want to watch along, that would be awesome, and follow. But, one thing that really stood out to me was the amount of people inside of eXp. eXp's got this this reputation that everybody's a recruiter, and that's all anybody does. And if nobody sells any real estate, how do you make any money? One fun thing that I found out was that 85% of agents inside of eXp actually don't even participate in revenue share. Typically, maybe they've got 1 or 2 agents, a friend or a family member or something like that. But it's only 15% of agents actually participate in the revenue share. So my question is like, what do you tell people, Dan, when they start looking at eXp, but they don't want to have that like tag of recruiters only, attached to them just because they're joining eXp? Like, I think that's a huge question for people. It was a big question for me.
Because what's interesting is like, that means that people are listening to the noise that competitors are putting into their head, or that your current brokerage is putting into your head to try to keep you from a fear-based place, and just ignoring the very clear results right in front of you. Because you have, like, I get this years back, totally get it. You go back to, 2016, 17, 18, 100% completely understand it. Today, go pull up the top performers in most major cities. I'm not saying that number one is going to be eXp in every city by any means. But for example, if you pull that up in San Diego, you would find that there's 3 or 4 of the top 5 spots. And so it's first, it's that means that someone's not looking at the proof. But secondly, it's also understandable and kind of a self-induced issue. What happens is, let's just talk about brokerage in general. What's going on is you'll notice that almost any brokerage environment moving forward is going to have this incentivized system. I just call it an incentivized system. And some of them strangely try to downplay the incentive, which is kind of crazy, because you want a guy like me or you or Clarissa as incentivized as possible to help another agent grow their business. But they all have this incentivized system now. What matters is, how are they using it? Okay. And so in the old world, we had branches, and there was some amazing branches, some okay branches, some miserable branches, some branches or franchises that probably should have been revoked, some that were exemplary. Well, you need to find not just what system, but also what community as a whole, on an aggregate basis, like the heartbeat of that community is going to be about helping agents move their lives forward through the practice of real estate. And within that, Tyler, like, you just see the stories we told Clarissa's a moment ago. We'll tell yours in a year, but it's kind of crazy and it's pretty stupid, right? Like it's mine. My personal one is I was stuck at 151 million. The next year went to 161 million. I was stuck, plateaued. I got into this environment. It's not that eXp brokers my deal better, but I got into an environment where people were incentivized to share with me because it would make their life better to share with me, versus they were just sharing with me because they were doing me a favor. Well, then we went to 215 million. We ended up then going to 600 million. And that'll happen in a very, very quickly. But again, you do have to like hear this, and maybe it's like the wrong thing because I should be like selling, but I don't sell. I come from truth, and if it speaks to you, great. Is I woke up in the morning, took action every day, and actually showed up and built. I did the work. And just be aware, if any environment, any brokerage, or even any environment within a brokerage would ever tell you don't have to do the work, because you do. Like I still, there's a lot of like go somewhere and retire rich tomorrow morning talk that like I've still not even met one person where that would be true.
Well, you're dashing my dreams right now. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
But I think what's going to happen is you're going to continue to pour into me, and then in 10 years I'm going to be sitting in your position, and I'm going to go, man, now I owe it to all these other people to continue to pour into them. So thank you for doing that and being that sort of a model, because I think it is going to grow my life, and I'm excited to kind of follow in those footsteps. I think that it's really interesting in the real estate world nowadays, where a lot of what your branches, brokerages, firms, whatever, are so segmented and separate. It was like a breath of fresh air to come into something, and there's dozens of people, thousands of people I could reach out to in another area, right? And just start talking with them. And that becomes that's harder. That's why at other firms you have to go to their conferences and network with a lot of people, so that you walk away and now you have two more contacts that you spent, $2,000 to go to the conference and rent the hotel room and everything, and get those few contacts. I can do that in a heartbeat now. And that's really interesting to me. I never really considered what the inside of eXp looked like because of the rev share model. And what it did is it created these groups by its very nature, just like the fast forward movement, of agents that are really heavily incentivized to help move each other forward. And it's cool. And I'm only just kind of like just dabbling in it right now, but I could see in the future where if I wanted to teach classes or get involved in all sorts of different things, that I could do that. And maybe I wouldn't have to actually like pay for the class at the local firm,
Well, think about contributing in that way, like people do and have, and I used to before being here, but mostly paid through like feeling good, a little bit of like I don't know. There's like trying to get on, out there, but for the sake of being out there, like imagine like, no, I'm going to this place. I'm going to contribute in a big way. And it actually, like, when I share something with Clarissa, not only am I sharing it because like I'm just being kind, I'm sharing it, and it's so darn important to me that she actually implements what I've shared, because if she does, and when she does, it'll actually improve my life. And so therefore, like I'm not just going to share, but I'm going to say, Clarissa, have you done it? Did you put it in play? Have you done the thing? Have you built the CRM system? Have you hired that person we talked about? Because if so, literally, like, we're in it together. And if you haven't, then like, why on God's green earth did we spend all that time talking about it? I wasn't doing it for the payoff of feeling good. I was doing it because it's going to make your life better, which makes mine better. Period.
Yeah.
And so it's just a different environment than you're used to. What do you see, man, just in general? Tell us. Let's talk short-term rentals really fast, because like some of the numbers you're talking to me about, like finding in these niche markets that I wouldn't even know existed. They're interesting. And so, well, interesting at the very least. If you like cash flow, they're interesting for sure. So what's going on in that market? What's going on with any threats to the market? It seems like Airbnb, someone's always getting mad at them. Like, what's coming down? What's your advice for people that maybe either do own some short-term rentals and trying to figure out what to do with them, or maybe thinking about getting into their first, like I recently did?
Yeah, so we're really at this precipice in short-term rentals right now throughout the country, I think, where we're about to shake out all of the average people, or all these folks that bought at 3% interest rates. And what they're doing right now is they're competing downwards on price. So, they're at Motel 6 prices, and they're not covering their mortgage. They're not covering their expenses. They're realizing, like, I'm making less than I would make in a long-term rental, where the properties we're looking at, the properties we're selling, the properties we're buying are in the top 5%, right? Just the best revenue you can possibly get. A good example is this property that I bought in February for $850. We launched it in June. It'll do $250,000 in year one. In fact, it already has $250,000 on the books, right? Like literally in reservations from June and until next June. And so it's guaranteed that it's going to do at least 250. The cash on cash return on that is going to be at least 100%. I'll make all my money back in year one. As long as what happened today doesn't keep happening over and over, which is my bathtub is leaking into my movie theater as we speak right now. The restoration company's there. So as long as that doesn't happen every week, I'll make all my money back this year. But it is really interesting looking at these niche markets like Asheville, North Carolina, which is where I'm at, where Clarissa's at, the Red River Gorge in Kentucky. Myrtle Beach is really, really interesting. Myrtle Beach appreciation is still 10% year over year. There's a lot of room over in Myrtle Beach to make a ton of money in appreciation, because if you look at where prices went in Destin, Florida, or Gulf Shores, Alabama, oceanfront, Myrtle Beach did not have that through COVID. So there's still a lot of room for appreciation there, which will just help you multiply your real estate portfolio very, very quickly. And you get a beach house, right? Which is awesome. So I'm a big fan of like the Carolinas coast, even the North Carolina coast. If you look at the Outer Banks, for instance, revenue per available rental in the Outer Banks is up 26% year over year right now. So there's a lot of people out there crying about the Airbnb bust, right? This thing that's happening where people say they're making less money. And, I think what it is people are launching better and better properties, and they're taking the market share, from these hosts that bought, in 2018 to 2022, and, 3% interest rates. They put 10 grand of Amazon and Wayfair furniture in their place, and now they can't compete because everybody has the same thing. So we're coming in, we're putting in movie theaters, putting in game rooms, great outdoor fire pits, lots of experience, custom hand painted murals, really great landscaping outside with like mini putt-putt and outdoor movie theaters, all sorts of cool stuff. And so I think that's really changing the landscape of short-term rentals. So for anybody that doesn't know me, short-term rentals is all I do. Did 55 million last year, do 54 million this year. So my goal coming into this year was to just remain the same. And we have an expansion network as well. We're in 5 states right now. Really excited to bring most of that, if not all of it, over to eXp. And all of those agents, just like myself, exclusively do short-term rentals. That's all we do. So I'm excited to give back some value as well to the fast forward movement. We want to come in and teach people how to sell short-term rentals. One, if I come in and I'm the authority figure on short-term rentals, you'll probably think of me for your referrals. So I want to incentivize you to do that by teaching you how to do better in your own area. I don't care. I'm not competing with you in San Diego, right? So I want to teach you guys how to sell more short-term rentals so that you think of me and you send me all your referrals for Asheville, right? So we're really excited to do that and continue to provide that, and just get out there and be of value and do it to a wider audience, trying to go office to office, firm to firm, brokerage to brokerage, and teach a class in front of 20 people that might show up, and then you got to give them free Chick-fil-A chicken biscuits. It's a slog. It's like going through molasses. So now I get to like speak in front of 10,000 agents and do live videos with like 500 million a year producers like Dan, which is really cool.
Very cool. Very, very cool, man. I appreciate that. In fact, what made me realize as we wind this down is I'd like to get live. I'd like to get, back online, go live again. Maybe even have you into an environment like our sales mastery group and just talk short-term rentals, how to look at them, how to think about them, how to identify markets.
Yeah. It's a huge industry.
Put together something like that, which is, I think, a great way to kick off your time with eXp and fast forward movement, because it doesn't exist without, like, if we are not adding consistent value to the lives of other agents so they could just, then what do we have? Then we hung our license somewhere, and what? So let's do that. It'll be the perfect way to celebrate your arrival.
Yeah, man. I'm excited for it.
Any closing words here, Clarissa?
I'm just so excited. Welcome, 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 Tyler. And always thanks, Dan, for being my best supporter. And we're excited. Come talk to us about joining eXp if you're listening in Asheville or from around the country.
Yeah, I told an agent yesterday, like, hit me up. You'll know if you've worked with me at all in short-term rentals or anything. I'm pretty objective about stuff. I'll tell you the truth. Like, if the best place for you is Remax, if it's somewhere else, if it's KW, whatever it is, like, you're going to hear that from me. I've found so much over the years that providing the value back, eventually, it comes back tenfold. I mean, you put it out in the universe and certainly it comes back tenfold. So I'm in this for the long haul. This is not a new thing for me. This is not a get rich quick scheme. We're here for the long haul. So like, if you want to have a confidential conversation, ask some questions, reach out to me or Clarissa or Dan. Happy to have those, either way, we're happy to know you. Just continue that conversation over the long term.
Very excited. And I love your video too. I don't know if I told you, with you flying. It's perfect.
Thanks. They took those pictures right here like this.
We're going to do that, man. Let's bring that. And then another place where I'd like to bring that pretty much ASAP is we do a masterclass every Monday. So on Mondays, I mentioned the mastermind, and that's different topics. Hey, this is going on in my business. How do I solve this? And we're all coaching one another. But at 11 Pacific, 2 Eastern, every Monday we do a masterclass where we go deep on one subject. This one's perfect. So I'm going to connect you with Colton Whitney, who's a guy whose career has gone, just ridiculous with us. And he's coordinating all that. So I'm going to connect it to you. Guys, thank you. Welcome. Warmest welcome.
See y'all.
Bye.